You know, back in the 60s, Lyndon Johnson announced a war on poverty. Am I wrong? But there are more poor people. I mean, in other words,
today than there were then. Yes.
Yeah, there are more poor people.
Yes.
I mean, this was a hell of a war. We lost it apparently because for the last 30 years we've been dumping money into these poverty programs.
Oh, absolutely.
Where's the money go?
Oh, it supports a whole industry of people who run those programs, who talk about those programs, research those programs, bureaucrats, and so on.
Doesn't help poor people.
No. The tragedy, you see, is that the anointed really want to make symbolic statements. And running these programs makes those symbolic statements. They don't really care if in the wake of affirmative action, for example, companies start locating away from minority communities so they don't get involved in legal
Oh my God.
action. They don't care about that. They've made their statement on the side of the angels, and that's what's important.
Have you ever debated Jesse Jackson?
No, I haven't.
Is that because, would you like to, or would he not want to do that?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
You'd be willing to, I assume.
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
You think that's too much showbiz?
It is. You know, there are people who go out and do this, and I'm doing less and less of it. And I tell them the story of an African boxing champion who fought an Irishman in St. Patrick's Day in Dublin. And he lost his title on what the sports writers called a questionable decision.
Yes.
And so you have to know what forum you're talking about.
Right.
I saw Shelby Steele on with him, and I said, you know, if Jesse Jackson and Shelby Steele each had to present a 2-hour lecture to an audience with an average IQ of 120, Shelby would wipe him out. But if they had 5 seconds each on Donahue, it would be Jesse Jackson all the way.
Right.
So everything.
And the reason why it would be Jesse Jackson all the way is because that's how we receive information. Now, I don't know what year he's saying that's in, but just think about how we receive information now with social media and everything. This is why they have to grab us with emotion, because they know that we're not going to sit there and truly hear something out. There's literally rallies. 500,000 people around the country are rallying about having Elon Musk keep his hands off of Social Security, having Donald Trump keep his hands off of Medicaid, all this stuff, when they've never said it, that they're going to touch it. Now, whether they do, I guess we'll have to wait and see. But they've never said it. The things that Elon Musk said, it's like he called it a Ponzi scheme. Well, when you look at how it works, I mean, it kind of operates like that. Elon, everything I heard Elon say is that he wants to give people the option. I don't want my money going into Social Security. Maybe you do. Cool. You should be able to opt in. I should be able to opt out. Oh, if I don't opt in, you're not able to pay everybody. Well, that's not my problem. That sounds like a mismanagement of funds based on the Social Security Department. Let's move on. Let me make sure I catch up with some of the comments. Appreciate you, Unc, man. I appreciate that, Unc. I'm looking forward to having you on. I'm looking forward to having you on a consistent basis, giving us that stock info. So definitely interested in that. Let's make sure that we're liking and subscribing. Please, please, please. I want to share to get everybody. Matter of fact, no, we're going to play Tom Sowell. We're going to play this Thomas Sowell interview before we get to Trump. I hope that we take this as an opportunity to learn from one of the most intelligent people I believe that's out there. One of the most intelligent people that we have. And for all those people that identify as liberals, as Democrats, maybe this is something that I don't know. I don't know. I think we all can learn from it. Let's take a look at it.
So it's not Sowell versus blacks, it's the black intellectuals. And the black intellectuals are no more typical of the black population than white intellectuals are of the white population. But they have a very large vested interest in certain beliefs which underlie various programs from which they benefit enormously. And as I point out in the book, this is common around the world, that the elites benefit from preferential programs, even when those programs are in the name of the masses. The masses do not benefit.
So this video is pretty much talking about Thomas Sowell, one of the most intelligent brothers out here. The elites in the Democratic establishment, they can't stand him. They don't highlight him. It's another one of those, well, you know, we support black people, but only if you're Democrat. Only if you see the world the same way we see it.
You've mentioned a couple of times how you say things and think differently than others. Mm-hmm. And I want to read, it'll take me just a minute here to read this paragraph and ask you to explain it further. This is deep in the book, and when I read it, it kind of popped out, and I wanted to ask you what you meant by all this. Say, any fundamental re-examination of the assumptions behind preferential policies, that's the name of the book, and still more so, any resulting change of policies, can expect to encounter their vocal, bitter, and determined opposition, including inevitable charges of racism against outsiders, labels of traitor put on any members of their own group who disagree with them, who disagree publicly with them, and whatever other claims or charges seem likely to be politically effective. When you said labels of traitor put on any members of their own group who disagree publicly with them, were you talking about yourself?
Only as one among many. Randall Kennedy up at Harvard.
Ew. Sorry to interrupt the video. We got a new challenge. 20,000 by the end of April. We fell short in March, but we're gonna get our goal this month. Thank you all in advance for those that are gonna continue to like, subscribe, maybe even leave some comments and let us know how we're doing. And on that note, let me let y'all get back to the video and I'll see y'all soon. Ew.
Did a very fine article in the Harvard Law Review last June, for which he was denounced as an academic minstrel and other things because he was out of step. I mean, people who raise their heads will set off a search and destroy mission because people have a lot at stake and they're sitting on a house of cards. They have many assumptions which simply cannot be examined carefully because those assumptions will collapse and they'll fall from a very high position to a very low position. And they are not about to tolerate people questioning what they're saying.
Is there a way for you to put it in a nutshell about what people of, say, your own race say about you that they don't like what you say about
wait. I think one of the ways that the organized noisemakers have succeeded is saying that what they're saying is what their race is saying. My race is not saying that about me. Those particular individuals who are a small minority themselves within the black community, who have a vested interest in many of these programs, they are saying that. But when I checked out of my hotel this morning, you know, the black security guard came over and said, "Are you Sowell?" And I said, "Yes." And he shook my hand warmly, and he walked me the length of the corridor and talked about this and about that. And that's not at all an uncommon experience for me. So it's not Sowell versus blacks, it's the black intellectuals. And the black intellectuals are no more typical of the black population than white intellectuals are of the white population. But they have a very large vested interest in certain beliefs which underlie various programs from which they benefit enormously. And as I point out in the book, this is common around the world, that the elites benefit from preferential programs, even when those programs are in the name of the masses. The masses do not benefit. In the case of the current so-called Civil Rights Act, the masses are going to lose big if that law goes into effect.
Why?
Because employers will not want to hire as many blacks in the jobs for which most blacks will be applying, because those will not be jobs as rocket scientists or as doctors or any of those things. And therefore, they'll want to hold down percentages down there to what they can do on the higher ranks, which is going to be much less. And so you're sacrificing the working class blacks for the benefit of the professional elite.
How do the intellectual elite, both white and black, get to the position that they do in this country that you disagree with?
I mean, how do they have the influence they have?
Well, no, but what's their, from what your discussions over the years, what's their thought process that gets them there? Is it emotion or is it fact?
Emotion largely, but also a large amount of self-interest, increasingly.
Self-interest. We have to have self-interest. The self-interest of the people that are trying to push us in a particular direction, trying to radicalize us, trying to force us to make sense of things that just don't make sense. They have self-interest. This is what Jason Whitlock was talking about when he was talking about Jesse Jackson. This is what we mean when we talk about Al Sharpton. The majority of these politicians have self-interest, just like the majority of us have self-interest, which is why we tend to see the world only through the lens and our individual experience. We see the world through our lens. That's it. The majority of us are selfish. So why do we think that these politicians, these people in power, these influencers, why do we think that they're holier than thou? Why do we hold them to a certain standard that we know we don't even live by? And we don't even have some of the things that are dangled in front of us, like that are dangled in front of these people.
Self-interest. I think that if you went back largely, but also a large amount of self-interest, increasingly self-interest. I think that if you went back, into the 60s, you'd find people with different views like Martin Luther King or Malcolm X. But I think that both those men believed in what they said. Whereas today, you have people who are simply professional hustlers. And again, this is not peculiar to blacks or peculiar to the United States or even peculiar to racial issues. That organizations typically, many movements are set off by idealistic people who want to promote some good for mankind or for some group. But as time goes by and as they succeed, they'll be followed by people who can use these things for their own self-interest. And that's been the history of regulatory agencies in the government. It's been the history of, I think, of religions, that the first Christians who were being persecuted by the Roman Empire were not in it for what they could get, because all they were going to get is trouble. But once Christianity became the state religion, this became a very lucrative career for some people. And then you get an entirely different kind of person coming in at that point, and we can have an entirely different kind of movement.
What liberals really think about
How do the anointed refer to people they don't agree with?
All sorts of ways.
And very quickly, let me interject, and please like and subscribe as you're listening. I'm really trying not to comment as much with Tom Sowell. We just need to listen to him. I don't need to comment on, like, I just want y'all to hear him. I want y'all to hear him. He's one of the most intelligent people on the planet. One of the most sensible and logical people. I just want y'all to hear him out.
And then you get an entirely different kind of person coming in at that point, and we can have an entirely different kind of movement.
So what liberals really think about conservatives?
How do the anointed refer to people they don't agree with?
All sorts of ways, but I think the main thing is they believe that you're not merely in error, but in sin. In other words, they can't believe that you're just mistaken. You must have sold out. You must be something warped about you.
You guys are for the rich. You guys only care about the rich guys. Answer that. How do you respond? Liberal says conservatives only care about rich people.
Well, one of the things I go into in the book is that the whole notion of rich is ridiculous. That most Americans don't stay in the same income bracket, even for one decade. So the same guy who is, quote, rich now was 20 years ago probably in the bottom 20%. I mean, I was on a cruise recently, a luxury cruise, and the guy said, if someone had told me when I was growing up that I would end up on a cruise like this, I would have said, get real, man. That very few people are in that same income bracket the whole time.
Right.
The genuinely rich and the genuinely poor, I would estimate to be no more than 3% of the American people.
Really?
Put together.
Really?
Yes.
Genuinely poor. Now, I'm seeing numbers like when they were talking about health care, they said, 30 million people couldn't afford it or something? That's a big number.
Several million of those were making more than $50,000 a year. So it's not, see, this is one of the things the anointed do. They never believe that people make choices. There are people who have the money, they prefer to put that money into a BMW rather than into
a lot of young people didn't want health care. They were betting on their health.
Absolutely. And then this allows them to buy more stuff they want to buy. So it's not a question that they couldn't afford it. It's a question they don't choose to spend the money.
What about mean-spirited? Conservatives are mean-spirited. They're bigots. They don't like people.
Well, one of the things I tell people say, you're a very tough person. I'm not tough. Life is tough. I'm merely trying to acquaint you with those facts.
I just want to thank you for checking out our video and visiting the OG Network. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure that you give us a like. And if you're looking to join a community of inspired individuals striving for purposeful abundance, subscribe. And if you're feeling real generous, share the video with some friends and family. All right, I'll see y'all soon. Ew.